What is going on, everyone? Today I'm doing something completely different. It is a reaction to my first time watching a film, and this film is Gangs of New York, a Martin Scorsese movie. Surprisingly, I've never seen this film. I've also never seen a bunch of other Martin Scorsese movies that aren't talked about as much. Of course, I've seen all the bigger Scorsese movies, but the ones that aren't talked about as much, I have not seen yet, and one of them is Gangs of New York. I know this one is not as popular as other ones like Taxi Driver or The Departed. So I finally decided to throw this together and watch the film. I thought it'd be really fun if I did a little reaction video for you guys where I watched the movie and discuss my thoughts on the film after watching the movie in full. Apparently this movie is like, 3 hours long, so it's going to be a long movie to watch, but I'll do my very best. I don't know if I'll get through the whole thing at once because I have to go to work pretty soon. I work till midnight tonight, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So then once I get back from work, I'll probably watch some more, maybe finish the whole thing and just, I don't know, by the time I get back. So we'll see, but I'll do my absolute best. Also, if you're wondering why the audio quality is not as good, it's because I'm just using my iPhone. I don't have a microphone hooked up or anything. I don't trust my siblings or my mom to film me while doing this reaction, so I'm doing it all myself here, just holding my cell phone and recording. All right, and real quick, let me just show you guys my setup, how I'll be watching Gangs of New York, where I'll be watching Gangs of New York, the disc I'll be using to watch this film. I apologize for the clutter in advance, but this is my room. It's pretty small. I had to fit a lot of stuff in here, but I make do, so I'm completely fine with it. All right. Here's my Nintendo Switch. Unfortunately, we will not be using it today because it does not accept physical media, no Blu-rays, DVDs, but I still play it a lot. Smash Bros, Kart. It's a pretty good system nonetheless, but we can't use it today, obviously. All right, and here is my Xbox One. I do also use this quite often. It needs to be dusted, but it's a pretty good system, and we'll be watching Gangs of New York on this thing today. I wish it was able to play 4Ks, but thankfully the Xbox X Series or Series X, I always get the name mixed up, that will be a system where you can play 4Ks. Thank God. And here's my TV. Speaking of 4Ks, I wish this was a 4K TV, but unfortunately not. I think this thing's like 7 years old maybe. So yeah, I think it's time for a new TV. However, I still use it a lot, pretty much every single day. And I think it's pretty good for being 7 years old. And yeah, here's where I'll be watching the movie from my bed. It's great. And then over here, yeah, I'm an old guy, but I think it's the right thing to do by using the DVDs from Netflix. Yeah, I still use Netflix DVD. If you're an old timer like myself, you probably still use this. So yeah, I love Netflix DVD. I watch all the classic movies through Netflix DVD, and this movie, Gangs of New York, has 2 discs. Like, what the hell? But anyway, this thing looks like it went through the ringer. Yeah, hopefully it works. Yeah, so let's get this thing started right now, guys. First thing to know, I'm literally 1 minute and 30 seconds in, and I did not know Liam Neeson was in Gangs of New York. Wow. Okay, I just finished the first half of Gangs of New York. I cannot finish the movie right now, though, because I have to go to work, and I'll be there till midnight, which really stinks. But maybe I'll come home and watch the rest of the movie tonight after work, or just watch the rest in the morning. Depends on how tired I am, but so far, so good with Gangs of New York. I obviously can't give my full thoughts on the film yet because I only watched the first half, but I'll give you guys a little bit of a rundown how I feel about this movie so far, the goods and the bads. Immaculate set pieces. This movie looks great. I really feel like I am back in 1800s New York. They brought that time period back to life, and Martin Scorsese as a director for this film, I mean, the guy is a legend, and this is another film that just solidifies his status as a legend out of all film directors, and this has to be one of his better films. Like I said, I haven't seen all Scorsese movies, but I can tell after just watching the first half of Gangs of New York that this is absolutely one of his better directed movies out of all of them. The cast is great. Leonardo DiCaprio is really good in this movie. I don't know if it's his best performance, but it's up there for sure. And Daniel Day-Lewis definitely steals the show as Bill the Butcher. This is one of his greatest performances of all time, no doubt. He's so good so far. I cannot wait to see where his character, as well as Leo and everyone else's, goes. Plus, I really like the dynamic between DiCaprio's character and Daniel Day-Lewis's character, being that Day-Lewis killed DiCaprio's father in the movie, Liam Neeson, and when DiCaprio comes back years later after his father's death, initially you think he's going to get revenge on Bill the Butcher, but they become really close, and he's almost like his apprentice, which is really odd. And Brendan Gleeson's character comes into the picture later on near the middle of this film, and he brings up Shakespeare. So I thought that was really cool how this movie does take a little bit from Shakespeare, and the storytelling in this movie is fantastic. So like I said, there is so much to like from Gangs of New York. A few things I didn't really like: the romance, Cameron Diaz. A lot of people said she sucks in this movie, and she's okay. I don't know if she's miscasted, but definitely not one of the best parts of the film. The whole romance just kind of plays second fiddle to everything else going on in the background, and like a lot of Scorsese movies, this one doesn't have the best direction. It kind of feels misguided. You're not really sure where the movie is going in terms of direction. Now, Martin Scorsese does a great job in terms of directing, but the story itself, you're not really sure where it's going, and that's like a lot of Martin Scorsese movies. This one does follow a similar path here and there, but overall, I like the movie so far. Like I said, I do have to go to work. I'll be back in just a second, though, and hopefully I finish the movie tonight. We shall see. I'll be right back. Back from work now. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, so not sure if I'll finish it tonight. Hopefully I can get through a little bit more, but if not, I'll finish it in the morning, so we'll see. So last night I stayed up until about 2:30 a.m. I got through a big chunk of the second half. I only have maybe 35 minutes left of Gangs of New York, so let's finish the movie right now. Alright, and just finished this too of Gangs of New York, so let me give you guys my rundown on how I feel about the movie. So after watching a nearly 3-hour-long film in Gangs of New York, I think I like the movie more than I did after watching the first half, which is pretty crazy because this movie is very long, nearly 3 hours. It took me a day to watch. I probably would have finished it in one day had I not had to go to work last night, but still, a 3-hour-long movie. Most people hate watching movies that are longer than 2 hours, so to sit through a movie for 3 hours is crazy. But I love watching long movies, and I had no problem with the runtime. I think it actually made this movie even better. That goes for a lot of other movies too. When they want to reach that epic scale, of course you have to have a longer runtime. As far as my positives go, they are pretty much the same as the positives I shared earlier in this video, and those would be the production design. The sets are immaculate. The set pieces are all great. The cast, Leonardo DiCaprio, Daniel Day-Lewis, who I think gives maybe a better performance than he gave in There Will Be Blood. The guy continues to prove in every single movie I watch him in that, yes, he is one of the best actors of all time. Cameron Diaz, she was okay in the movie. I thought she played her role okay. Could have been a little bit better, maybe found somebody else to play her, but she was fine. I didn't really care too much about her character. And you got other people in this movie, like Henry Thomas, for instance. That was random, but I really enjoyed seeing him in this film. The cast is stacked in Gangs of New York. It's definitely one of the best aspects. I also really love how this movie kind of transported you back in time, took you back to 1800s New York. Martin Scorsese did a really good job in capturing that time period. I felt like I was living in 1800s New York, so props to them. They did an absolutely awesome job at bringing us back in time to 1800s New York. I also really loved the story in Gangs of New York, like how DiCaprio's character at first is friends with his father's killer, and then he slowly starts to realize, maybe I shouldn't follow this guy. And in this movie, a lot of it is chaos. This movie is pretty much all over the place with characters, and people are not nice in 1800s New York. You can't trust anyone. They are all savages. Bill the Butcher, this guy is so crooked. He's so backwards. His way of thinking is corrupt. The guy is not somebody you should trust, but that's what makes his character so good. And Bill the Butcher, as a character, might just be one of my all-time favorite characters in movie history already after watching this movie just once. Also, the music was masterfully composed. You don't get music like this that often in movies nowadays. I love the music in Gangs of New York. And the other thing is the bloodshed. This movie has a lot of violence, and it did not hold back whatsoever. I thought this movie offered a lot of different elements for all movie fans. If you like violence, if you like seeing action, you get some of that. If you like romance, you get some of that. If you like a drama, you get some of that. This movie definitely has several different genres mixed into one film. And then for my negatives, I mean, there are some that I have. I didn't necessarily love this movie. I don't think it's his best movie made by Martin Scorsese, but it's still up there for one of my favorites. Obviously, the romance, it's just second fiddle. You don't really care about it that much. Cameron Diaz, she probably could have been better in this movie. I don't think she was terrible, but for a performance, it was just fine. And this was a really basic romance. It's a romance I've seen so many times in film. If it was cut out completely in this movie, I would not have cared. It would not have changed anything. And the first half of this movie does take quite some time for it to get the ball rolling. You're not sure where the direction is going. I mean, a lot of Scorsese movies are like this, where in the first half, you're not sure what the main plot is, and it takes about a good hour or two for the film to finally show its cards and tell you where the main plot is. And yeah, the first half of this movie is definitely like that, where you don't know exactly where it's going, but at the same time, it all pays off at the end because the second half of this movie is just so good, and the parallels between the beginning and the end really do come to show by the end of the film that, yeah, Scorsese knew exactly what he was doing. So yeah, Gangs of New York, this was a really fun film to watch. I think it's one of the better films that came out in 2002. Sure, it does have some problems, but for a first watch, I greatly enjoyed this movie, and I cannot wait to watch it again, especially to see Daniel Day-Lewis on the screen playing Bill the Butcher. That is it for me today. Those are my thoughts on Gangs of New York after watching it for the first time. I do hope I can watch it again soon, though, because I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was pretty darn great. But, of course, guys, I want to hear what you have to say about the movie Gangs of New York down below in the comment section. Did you love it? Do you hate it? What are your problems with it? Do you have any? Do you think the romance is kind of garbage? Let me know down below in the comment section, guys. And do you want to see me do more of these reactions to watching a movie for the first time? Just my immediate reaction? Because I really enjoyed doing this. And as always, guys, if you're new to my channel, click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.